welcome to talkSPORT End Zone. I'm Jay Lawrence. He's Brian Smith. Let's have a little bit of fun with this, Brian. What with the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell not ruling out the fact that there could be a Super Bowl internationally out of the US at some point. Let's do our top 5 dream Super Bowl cities outside the United States of America. Let's start with number 5, actually. We're going to start with a place that hasn't even seen a Super Bowl.
This is a fun thing to do. I'm excited.
I think we should start with a city that's not even seen an NFL game yet. But it's got real contention, I think, because of an event that has just happened there. Number 5, Paris, Brian. What are we thinking?
I think it's absolutely brilliant. To quote the English, I was just in Paris for the Olympics. I spent a week there with my amazing wife and had the time of my life. I got to go as a fan, and granted, most of the real Parisians left, and we don't have time to get into that. But I was able to experience the city, walk around everywhere, take the metro, obviously the incredible restaurants. And that would be an incredible city. So think about this, right? Paris, I felt like, and I thought the general consensus was absolutely nailed the Olympics. Credit to France for nailing the Olympics. They have a lot of other issues, but they nailed the Olympics.
Shout out France, yeah.
They, when you have beach volleyball in front of the Eiffel Tower, when you're using all these beautiful historic venues, they did such an amazing job. Now, granted, this is just one game, but they understood that. They understood how to use their city, all their amazing history, one of the greatest cities in the world, to their advantage. It would be so easy. And then, you have, what is it, Stade de France?
Stade de France.
You guys can, they can fix that. But where you have the track and field out, right? Where you could go out and see, some of the greatest athletes in the world. And that was a fantastic venue to have that. You have PSG there. So they know exactly what they're doing. That is without question. That would be an amazing...
It'd be an amazing week, actually, because obviously the Super Bowl is the Super Bowl. It's one game, but it's more than that. We know it's more than that. It's a whole week's worth of
It's a whole
stuff.
week. It's a whole week. It takes over the entire city for the week and really the week up to that. And Super Bowl is very comparable to the Olympics, that once you get it, you are spending years preparing for that. It's more like the Euros or Champions League or the Olympics. It is America's sporting Olympics if America's not hosting the Olympics. So to have Paris hosting the Super Bowl, you could just picture how incredible that would be in that city.
I'm already regretting putting Paris at number 5. I think it should be up further up on the list because that would be unbelievable for the entire week. Number 4 is a country, actually, that is massive on American football. One of the biggest American football communities outside of the United States. And let's go with a city from that country, Brian. Munich, a place that has held NFL games, Sorry, let's do that again.
That's right.
Munich, a place that knows how to hold an NFL game, Brian, and I think it's fair to say that German-American football fans would be very pleased about that. What do you think about Germany as a place to hold the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it's another very realistic, eventual, possible. And they would have multiple options, right? Because you've had games in Frankfurt. We're not even discussing Berlin right now. Berlin would immediately come to my mind, but as you mentioned, rightfully so, Munich is the more likely option. So you have multiple cities that you could host at. They just hosted the Euros and did a fantastic job with that. You have, because of NFL Europe back in the day, you have a football fan base, a football culture there. It's an international country. It's an international city. It's relatively easy to get to wherever you're at across the globe. People are always flying through Germany to go somewhere else, or they're staying for a week. I might or might not be going to check out the Christmas markets in Germany later this year. So yeah, it is definitely in our top 5. And there is a reason, in all seriousness, the NFL has been so associated with Germany. More so than France, more so than Spain, more so than Italy or Ireland. In the last 5 to 10 years, they have a connection with Germany.
And I think it's also fair to say, you mentioned the Euros is there, and the NFL does all these feasibility studies to work out where there should be games. But Germany, sports mad, they are obviously so used to holding major tournaments. It's not out of the question whatsoever.
And they know how to drink beer.
They're pretty good at that as well, to be honest with you. Hey, let's go to number 3. This is an exciting one, a place that they have never been, the NFL, but we know that is a place that they are looking at. Australia. Australia at number 3 on our dream Super Bowl cities, and we'll go to Melbourne specifically, as Australia is not a city. Melbourne would be a lot of fun. And more than anything else, as much as a Super Bowl would be a real great time, from a practical standpoint, logistical standpoint, and from a future standpoint, it opens up a whole region, doesn't it? Having not just an NFL game, in Melbourne, but Australia as a whole to open up all of that region.
Yeah, this is where I think it gets really fun and really interesting. And we had a different show, different segment where we were kind of getting into the feasibility of an international Super Bowl and when will that be? Well, this is something I think, we won't be on planet Earth most likely in 100 years, but I think you will look back in 100 years and there will have been a Super Bowl in Melbourne. There will have been a Super Bowl in Tokyo. There will have been a Super Bowl in one of the cities that we're going to get to in a second on this show. This is where it's going. Now, maybe it happens once every 10 years, right? They just, we're going to do an international city every 10 years or every 5 years. But if they're truly going to go global, and they are, and they've been doing that for the last decade, Australia is one of the next places. You have the rugby connection, great country, great city. Sydney is another option. But getting it over into Australia makes total sense on a global scale. And Australia, again, they love their sports.
They love their oval-shaped balls. That's what they like.
Close enough. Very world. And we don't want to say anything too generic to offend anyone in Australia. Great country. A great country. There's a reason that people want to go there for holiday. They want to explore. You can maybe check out New Zealand while you're over there. I would love to see it, and it really makes sense that if the NFL is going to be this ambitious, Australia would be on their map.
Number 2 is a city that regularly holds NFL games. Actually hasn't recently due to stadium adjustments or changes. Mexico City. Now, I think that we're reaching now, we've said a couple, which maybe could be considered long shots. Now we're reaching a point, I think, with Mexico City where if an international Super Bowl was a distinct possibility, there is no doubt that Mexico City would get discussed.
And I'm very serious about this. So I covered the Houston Texans versus the Raiders in Mexico City on Monday Night Football when Brock Osweiler was a quarterback.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think someone in the stands pointed a green laser at him, and I had to do a story on it for the Houston Chronicle. But point being, they were one of the first international cities. So the NFL has a ton of experience there. I mean, can't even begin to get into the huge population. You could pull from, so much easier if you're in the United States of America just to drop down and watch a game there. You have Latin America. They were in Brazil earlier this year. It makes total sense, and I definitely think this is where it's going. You can go this way, and you can fly across this ocean and go into the United Kingdom, maybe do Germany, eventually get to Australia. But it totally makes sense that maybe the second international Super Bowl would be in some place like Mexico City. If you haven't ever been, it's worth going once. It's such a huge, diverse, amazing city that with soccer, with the real football, they know how to host global games.
And actually, interestingly, you mentioned potentially the second international Super Bowl. I actually think that this could be the first international Super Bowl, and I'll tell you why. Because this is a bridge. This is a bridge location because Mexico City, not that far from the US.
No.
It is very easy for a lot of American fans to be able to get there. In fact, for a lot of American fans, it'll be easier to get to Mexico City than it will other parts of the US. Yep. A bridge international space which says, hey...
You're close to Los Angeles.
Yeah, hey, this is, where we're, looking... This is what we're looking at doing. We're looking at doing international Super Bowls. Putting that in people's minds, American fans' minds.
That's an interesting idea.
Without saying, hey, we're doing an international Super Bowl, we're going to go all the way to our number 1 spot, which we'll go to now. Nice segue from me. Number 1, maybe this is a lot of bias considering this is where we are right now, and as you can tell from my accent, I may be from this location. Number 1 in our top 5 dream Super Bowl cities is London, Brian.
I feel like part of it is, it's only fair. Right?
It's only fair.
And that's a big term over here, since I've been over here for 16, 17 months. To be fair, like everyone loves to say that.
We do.
Okay, so you can't have 3 games a year over here and use Tottenham. And Tottenham is a dual stadium, right? A lot of NFL fans don't know this, but it is an NFL-ready stadium. It's an amazing stadium, state-of-the-art. You have your own special locker rooms there that are just for the NFL.
Adjustable field.
Yes, and then you have Wembley, which can host... Wembley is one of the greatest venues in the world. So you can't have 3 NFL games a year, have been coming over here for a decade. At one point, really teased the Jacksonville Jaguars might move over here and relocate and not have the first Super Bowl in London. I am a little biased. London is the greatest city in the world, and I feel like the greatest international city in the world. It can do anything. And for all the issues that London might have in terms of in 2024, and maybe some issues with the economy, London can figure things out. And if I'm the NFL, I rubber stamp it right now. I work with Parliament. I work with Keir Starmer.
Oh yeah.
And I am bringing the Super Bowl to London. Let's make this up on the spot. 2024 in 2030. Super Bowl in London in 2030.
2030. 2030.
It's not that far away, but it's
I know,
far
that's
enough.
my point. That's crazy.
6 years. You can do any if you can host the Olympics, and if Paris can nail the Olympics in 4 years. How come London couldn't nail the Super Bowl in 6 years?
Well, actually, they don't. They know way in advance. I mean, I personally think
they do, but you don't really start planning until 3 or 4 years before.
I personally think that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard anybody said in my life, to be honest with you. That is
I think I said that about you in the last couple of programs.
Yeah, just off air. That is a crazy prediction in my mind. So soon, I personally don't see that happening for at least a decade, more likely 2, to be honest with you. But hey, maybe you know
that's
something.
what like. Why is Goodell talking about it?
Yes, he could sit on the fence. And he did to an extent, but he could just say, no, it's not something we're looking at.
He intentionally
but he didn't say that.
So it is coming. It's just a matter of when. It's either going to be in the next 10 years, like I believe. 2030 is for fun. It'd be the next 10 years or the next 20. The next 20 is boring to me. Let's get it done now.
Okay. All right. Well, that's our top 5 dreams, Super Bowl cities. Maybe we're dreaming. Maybe we're not. Thank you very much to Brian. And if you are watching on talkSPORT End Zone, our YouTube channel, make sure you click that subscribe button. Thank you.